Right, so first, can you just, briefly summarize why you decided to hold the town hall tonight?
I have heard from hundreds of people in my district who are very concerned about the lame duck legislative session. And this really happened when people are getting prepared for the holidays. They're figuring out their menu for Christmas, they're buying gifts, they're organizing parties. And so a lot of people felt really betrayed by state government holding a lame duck legislative session in December with little to no warning. And it was on issues that really override the will of the voters by limiting the power of the Attorney General and Governor. So I wanted to discuss what passed in the bills last week and what people can do about it now. And it was a very informative session with people asking a lot of questions.
What do you think is maybe what has been the number one concern, besides obviously just having the session in general, but what has been maybe the biggest issue that you've heard, whether tonight or before?
People feel like this is an abuse of power by power-hungry politicians who are really desperate. And I think it's clear that the only reason these bills passed and the only reason we had a lame duck session was because Republicans lost statewide races and they wanted to override the will of the voters who spoke loud and clear this November asking for change. And so people feel like, they went to the polls for a reason and they feel disrespected by the politicians who passed these bills, and they want to know more about what they can do and what happens next.
Why is having something like this important for, not only the community, but just the state?
Well, I think it's important for people to make their voices heard. That's why I encourage people today to ask Governor Walker to veto this legislation. There's a reason why past Republican and Democratic governors have spoken out on the lame duck bills. They think it's an abuse of power and a violation of the public trust overriding the will of voters. And so I wanted to make sure people knew they're still in the driver's seat. They still have the ability to weigh in with their legislators, with the governor, and they should keep staying involved because their voice has never been more important.
Do you plan on having any more town halls like this before the deadline or this year?
Well, I definitely will have monthly office hours again. Every month I travel around my district and have office hours at different times of day and different days of the week so people can weigh in. And I know people who couldn't make it tonight already asked when my office hours will be, so I'll make sure to accommodate them and get another office hours in before the end of the year.
And you said at the beginning that this was originally supposed to be a bipartisan event with Senator Testin as well. Did you get any word from him why he was unable to be here this evening?
I had heard from my staff that he was traveling in another part of the state. I'm not sure for what, but I did invite him. I wanted to make sure people had the opportunity to hear from both of us about the basis of our votes. I also invited the college Republicans. I know the college Democrats sponsored this too. I did want it to be bipartisan because it is important to me when coming to campus that we provide students and community members with as much information as possible.
And then you said these bills haven't made their way to Walker's desk yet. When is that expected to happen, and how long do you think he and his legal team will be working over these?
That's a good question. So as of yesterday, the governor told the media that he was still reviewing them and that they hadn't come to his desk. We actually don't have a timeline about that. He hadn't called on the bills yet, which means requested the bills, but he is going through them right now. I think it's important to note that, we didn't just receive statewide attention for these bills. We received national and international attention. And the governor's hearing from people close to him who are Republicans who have issues with this. There's a reason why Senator Coles, for example, voted against it. There's a reason why former Republican governors are also opposed to this, and why some of Walker's closest supporters are opposed as well. And so I think he's hearing from a lot of people and looking at it, and we want to encourage him to think about his legacy. Does he want to stain his career by leaving and signing bills, overriding the will of voters, and limiting the power of the Attorney General and Governor? I would sure hope not.
What makes this so unique for Wisconsin in its past?
Well, we asked the Legislative Reference Bureau, how often has this happened? And sure, we've had lame duck sessions before, but we've never had a lame duck session to take away powers of both the Attorney General and the Governor, and that really speaks to what an abuse of power this is. Voters weighed in loud and clear on November 6th. They want change. We should give it to them. We shouldn't interfere with that. As politicians, we should never be voting to put ourselves before people. We should never be voting to give ourselves more power, and that's why this is such a disappointment.
Anything else you'd like to add, or any questions we didn't ask?
Well, with the lame duck session, if we were going to convene, here's what we could have done. We could have fixed our roads. We could have protected health care and expanded access to health care. We could have invested in our schools and universities. Instead, politicians convened to give themselves more power. And that's why I spoke out. That's why I voted against it. And that's why I'll continue working with the people of Wisconsin and the community members here tonight and getting their feedback. And hopefully in January we can start off on the right foot, because this was really a terrible way to end the session this year.
You mentioned that you're having the office hours, continuing that, but if someone wanted to reach out to you by phone or email, what might be best.
Yeah, so 608-267-9649 is my phone. My email is rep.shankland, SHANKLAND, @legis.wisconsin.gov. People are welcome to reach out with any questions or concerns or ideas they have. And again, if they want to come to my monthly office hours, everyone is welcome to share ideas and thoughts.